We have a quorum. Alrighty. Can I get a motion to?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, have it. Thank you. Alrighty, going on to new business. Ryan Snyder, Kammy's Kause, to address and present to the council regarding Kammy's ride on 8/27/22.
Hello, as Fritz mentioned, I'm Ryan Snyder. You guys got the short end of the stick here because Aleah's at our crew meeting. So you got the handsome one, not the smart one. But yeah, so we're doing, with us doing Kammy's Kause at Landmark Park on the 27th. We just, we're kind of approached by the VFW to help out. And so we thought about starting the ride on Main Street again, instead of starting it, last year we started on Stat Street. So we kind of blocked off that alley where they had pizza deliveries coming in and out, which I know early in the morning, they're not gonna have that, but we blocked off the whole street there. Whereas what we're looking to do is just start on Main Street, basically from Ferrell to the tracks, kind of like we've done in years past. And registration starts at 9 a.m. We kickstands up at 10. So we would only really need to block it from maybe 8:30 to 10 o'clock at the most. We can go talk to the businesses that will be, affected by it. Not too many people will be open that early, I don't think, but the VFW is going to serve breakfast for us, for the riders, and then give us a spot indoors for registration if weather gets nasty again. So we're just, all we're really asking is to kind of block it off that morning, Saturday, from 8:30 to 10, do our registration, leave there, and then we'll be coming back to Landmark Park on Stat Street, parking on Veterans Way there in between the church and the park. So we won't be back to Main Street to block anything off later on either, so.
We'll let Chief know.
Yeah, okay.
Any questions? That's easy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Alrighty, council to consider reading first reading of ordinance number 2022-6A regarding outdoor seating.
This is, I don't know, I think Adam made some changes to it, so I don't know if you want to address that. And this is the draft
What changes you
presented.
They're outlined in blue. And all I had, overall, I think Alex did a nice job in putting that together. Pretty straightforward. The only thing that I added is that for the type of permit that they would acquire, to keep it simple, I'm thinking we just do a right-of-way permit like we've done with other things, and then just a little bit of wordsmithing in that paragraph. But other than that, I mean, from a staff perspective, I was
okay. Whatever the Indiana State Excise Police say is permittable.
I'll have Alex just give a real quick rundown of what's required.
There are two things at play. And there's one, excise police, and that's dealing with alcohol and the amount of space that you can have and separating and fencing around, right? And gaps no wider than 5 feet. And that goes to old laws that are in the weeds that we don't need. That's the rule, right? So whether you use plant or that doesn't. Right. Excise just wants to be able to delineate where the premises, the alcohol permitted premises are. That's on the excise side.
Oh, I know. So the barriers don't have to be connected. They can be big flower pots and they can have 5 spaces between them.
I've seen that approved.
Okay, all right.
The other issue is, what does the town, regardless of what excise will allow or not, what does the town council, what does the town want as far as the sidewalk seating, regardless of the alcohol? And that's completely within the council's discretion.
Did you have a chance to look it over? Because I looked it over, but it looked pretty simple, straightforward. I think it makes sense, like the, yeah, cleanliness, no plastic furniture, that makes sense to me. Keep the area clean and, the time of year because of snow, when we're, in between the two times, so we can at least have sidewalks clear.
It basically leaves it to, assuming you, Adam, in the permit process, or Joe involved in that at all? Yeah, well, since I'm involved right with right. As far as the, what the barrier is gonna look like, what it consists of, all of that. That wouldn't come back to us, that just stays with you guys, right? Right. So, I would make sure, I would think we'd all want to be on the same page as to what that thoughts, because right now I don't have any idea. What that-
Well, no, I was just going with what the excise police have. It's just all you have to do is have a planter 5 feet apart. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to construct a 42-inch fence around it. It's just, you just got to, all you have to do is fill, it does the area. Hold on, well, I'll give it to you a second. But I've talked to Steve about this thoroughly, and all it has to do is be a designated area. All you have to do is redo your permit, your alcohol permit. All you have to do is draw it into the picture. That's it. It's not gonna be over.
This is only if you're serving alcohol outside, right?
That's right, excise doesn't care if it's,
Nobody's consuming alcohol at the tables outside, no barrier.
excise has no jurisdiction.
Unless, I'm thinking if we put a bunch of fences out there, all we're doing is cluttering up even more, where we don't have that much space. So as long as we're in accordance with the state of excise cops or excise police, then we should be okay.
It might look nice, obviously.
Yeah, so, and that's, I think we spelled it out there, no plastic furniture and cleanliness. Do you have public comment? Go ahead.
Well, I had some questions about some of the wording, and then I printed off things I've been looking for days about HTC's regulations for outside seating.
I'm sorry, can you state your name?
Oh,
so it's
I'm
captured in the
Elizabeth.
minutes?
Yeah, Elizabeth Luperine and Simone and I own Cortonis. So we have outdoor cafe seating. My apologies, I hate public speaking, so this is like my worst nightmare. So one of the questions I had, it states that prior to establishing a sidewalk cafe, the restaurant owner must obtain, I just wanted to know, like, we've had seating out there since we opened, so is this something that people could be grandfathered in? Is it for future establishments? Like, it doesn't really say. And then I was gonna just address the outside seating first, if you don't mind. And then let's see. I agree, of course, like, I feel like we have nice outside seating, so I'm not worried about, I agree, plastic furniture is fine. Cleanliness, my only concern with cleanliness, as somebody from me, because I know it says, and I feel like we do a good job. We clear away our trash, dishes, glasses, silverware. I mean, we're prompt about that because, I mean, we feel like we're fine dining. We want to make sure people have a great experience. What I was concerned about was sometimes we have a problem because we're on Main Street and individuals get their food from other establishments and then they use our space for eating. And it's a catch-22 for us. I don't want to be a jerk when people are sitting outside and they're eating other people's food. And it kind of depends on the situation. Like, we've got groups of kids sometimes that get Mozzie's pizza and they come down and sit at our space. And so I tried to politely just say, hey, if you're eating, can you hurry it up and then kind of move along? This is for our patrons. Usually they're pretty nice about it. But my concern is we're closed 2 days a week. People leave trash and I'm happy. And it's not just Mozzie's. I mean, some other places too, like they leave plastic cups or whatever, or beer containers and whatever, I clean it up, but I don't want to get fined later either because somebody else has kind of left trash in my space. And that's what I was concerned about. So those are a couple of concerns, and yeah, I get it, like during the winter, we can definitely carry stuff away, I get it, that kind of makes sense. So I feel like we usually put everything up toward the building, when that happens, it's fine. As far as the, sale of alcohol, here's my other concern. So the state of Indiana legally says that, as long as you sell at least 60% of your alcohol sales inside your establishment, you're legally allowed right now. Everybody has a carryout license. And I've checked with our beer wine rep for alcohol people, and they've all said yes, and they gave me all the information, and I found it. So technically, I can sell my alcohol to go. And here's my concern. So say I sell pizza and a bottle of wine, and as long as it's in its original container, they can take it outside. I can even, after they've had drinks, cork it, bag it, and they can take it outside. We've got the alley now across from my restaurant. So I can't have them right outside my restaurant without a permit, but they can take my stuff to go and eat it across the street and drink it legally, because there's also no open container law in the state of Indiana. So I'm just feeling that, I'm sure you guys right now go, oh, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it seems like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. As far as outside seating, it says restaurants, service windows. Right here, IC 7.1-3-20-27, subject to, and I can, I have a copy here, you guys are more than welcome, or you can look it up yourself. Subject to subsection, and it says this section applies to premises of a restaurant. Subject to a subsection B, the holder of a retailer permit that is issued for the premises of any restaurant may sell or dispense on premises consumption only alcoholic beverages for which the permit holds the appropriate permit. From a service window located on the licensed premises that opens to an outside patio or terrace that is contiguous to the main building of the licensed premises of the restaurant. The holder of the retail permit that is issued at the premises of a restaurant may sell or dispense alcoholic beverages as provided under subsection B only if all the following conditions are met. The patio or terrace area described in section B is A, part of the licensed premises, and B, clearly delineated and completely enclosed on all sides of a barrier that is at least 18 inches in height. Access to the service window is limited by a barrier that is reasonably deferred or deterred free access by minors to the window. A conspicuous sign, my apologies, is posted by the barrier described in subsection 2 that states that minors are not allowed to cross the barrier to enter the area near the service window. I still, because we don't have a service window, don't really see that.
Well, that's the state, that's not
Right.
us.
But we were talking about, right, but we were talking about HEC's rules and regulations. And so if we're talking about that as part of,
Have you talked to Steve, our excise police officer in the area yet? Have you
When
guys
we
ever
first
sat down and
opened.
talked to him?
when we first opened,
And, okay, all he wants is on your permit, you have to resubmit your seating area to include the outside area. That's all he's asking. That we're not trying to make this real difficult. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. All we're doing is trying to cover the town because it's our sidewalks legally. So that's why we're putting this in here for these reasons. And the other thing on the carryout, yeah, on the carryout, you have to fill out another piece of paper on top of your liquor. You have a liquor license, and then you have to get another piece of paper. It doesn't cost you any more money, but you have to have another piece of paper filled out for carryout. It just doesn't automatically, it doesn't come automatic with your three-way license.
I know, but as of COVID,
That's expired.
right, and that's what I said to my person, and I've got the information, so I'll make sure and check it again. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
check it again,
really like.
they've gone back. I had to fill out a
Well, that's what
separate
I
piece of
told her,
paper.
because I thought it lasted only 3 months.
It lasts until the governor's executive order expired, which it has.
Right.
So it's back.
Yeah, all you gotta do is fill out that piece of paper. What we're trying to do is just make it uniform, make it all legit, and I'm glad you came in tonight.
I agree, and I get that, but, my, comment that I had made to Libby though too is, I mean, right now, what I have customers do, I guess, and is just come in to the restaurant, they buy it to go, and then they sit outside, and we're not technically serving it. Right, because that was my previous comment.
I see what you're saying, but
Because my previous comment was they can do that and then go across the street to the alley, and
Right.
there's no, I mean,
right, but what we're doing is just trying to get down the wording of what kind of seating out there in the premises. We're not trying to make this real super difficult, because you know how you have good neighbors and you have bad neighbors, okay?
Right.
What we're trying to do is make it so it's all in writing what you can and can't do, because if we don't put something in structure, I mean, you would have the Wild West out there in a heartbeat. So this is one way to protect the town and the citizens that are walking up and down the alley. We want to try to make it as uniform as possible and make it real simple. We want to encourage you to have outdoor seating. We love that idea. And what we're trying to do is just make it a uniform, so everybody knows the rules and everybody stays within, their boundaries. Does that make sense?
it does, but you can also, I just want to state my concerns.
Right.
And during the summer, that is, we're super tiny. So we've got 14 seats in the whole restaurant. So 4 or 5 extra seats outside is a huge deal for us come summer.
I
I
agree.
mean, it's almost an extra, $1,000 a day, which doesn't seem like a lot for, huge businesses, but it's a lot for somebody as tiny as us. So,
I agree. We're trying to encourage it. We are.
okay,
We just want to make sure it's all in writing, because if we didn't have something, it would get out of hand, and then all of a sudden, it would be a hot mess out there.
I feel like you guys do a pretty good job of limiting and making sure that the town looks great. So I don't think that necessarily would happen. However, I do see your, concern.
Okay. So do you want to, let's go ahead, any more comments?
This was first reading.
Yes.
There's no other public comment. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-6A, an ordinance creating sidewalk cafe regulations by title only.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys have it. Thank you.
Libby?
Sorry.
Did you,
Ah, Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm backwards on it. I said aye.
Okay, thank you. All righty, next on the agenda, the council consider expanding the economic redevelopment evaluation area TIF district for the tax abatement for Thursday's pool. Adam?
All right, so this would be 6A. So we started it, so that's right, we had to redo it. This would be resolution 6A, right? Resolution 6A.
I thought that this one was.
That's a ordinance.
Oh, okay, this one.
So for this particular item, if you recall, this is part of the expansion of the business, the 100,000 square foot expansion for Thursday pools. There was a lot of different entitlement work that they had to do for rezoning, annexing, site plan approval. And all that has been completed. Really, the last thing is to sign the official documents related to the tax abatement. And from earlier meetings, it seemed as if the council was supportive of that concept. So what these do is what's called a declaratory resolution. So that would be the document that's passed here tonight. That basically enlarges the economic revitalization area or the TIF district to allow this property to be within that geographic area. And then the next thing that we would do is if you were to approve this resolution here tonight, then we would publish a public hearing notice. And then at the next meeting, probably on the 20th, assuming that we can meet the statutory deadlines for publication. Then we would have a formal public hearing, and then it would be there'd be another resolution that would be a confirmatory resolution. So these things are basically spelled out state law in terms of this process. We had determined that, if you remember our discussion at an earlier meeting, we thought that it needed to go to the redevelopment commission. Turns out it doesn't, but they did, in fairness to them, they did review it, and it is reflected in the minutes. They just don't have a formal resolution, and that's all fine. So Bill is here tonight, in case you have any questions for him, and then his attorney, Steve Harden with Savory Drinker is on the Zoom call as well. Alex, is there anything that I
Yeah.
missed, or?
One note on this draft, we've already got the confirmatory resolution prepared as well. In the declaratory that's in front of you tonight, it does not reference the personal property tax abatement that Bill has also asked for. And so we can make that change in the final signature page is separate. But this would expand the ERA and also specifically address the commerce industry's request for abatement of not only real property tax, but personal property tax for the project. So that's an easy fix that we'll put in.
Which matches prior requests.
Yeah, it does. And the state, the SB1 forms that are attached as Exhibit C, I believe, have both the person, there's one for personal property, there's the PP, personal property, and the RP, real property. So both of those are in there.
And then what I would
would
add is if we take that route of just making having it approved, subject to a couple minor tweaks, that would be one. The other one is we could take out that whereas portion about the RDC adopting a resolution on a specific date, obviously. And then for number 6, I think we need to determine how long the ERA lasts for. I was certain on that. Go back to that. It's 20 or 20 years.
We can. So that's the only change that we had. We'll add that in to the whereas everywhere that says real property and personal property.
So the personal property, they're asking for abatement on that also.
Yeah, for the equipment, all the funds for.
Oh, okay, personal property for the equipment, okay.
Yeah.
So this would be the personal property. I thought Adam said there was it's a late RDC.
That's what they call it.
It's still in here. Yes, on page 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. Whereas,
Yeah, I'm thinking that
we
now.
can delete that. And then number 6 would be the third minor changes. To expire 20 years. That's the date. How should that would be worded out? Designated an economic revitalization area on
The 20th anniversary of the establishment of the ERA.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-6A, a declaratory resolution of the town of Fortville, Indiana, enlarging an economic revitalization area and approving an application for real property tax abatement with the addition of personal property tax abatement to be made, to delete the RDC resolution adoption provision, and to add in section 6 on page 3, the 20th anniversary of the ERA establishment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it. Thank you.
Do you want to go ahead and sign that now? And pass it back? You want to sign this one? It's got my scribbles on it.
Oh, yeah. Today's the 6th. Thank you. All right, next,
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Army.
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Oh, thanks.
And Steve.
Council, consider holding first reading ordinance number 2022-6B regarding Vernon Township Cemetery annexation.
All right, so for this particular item, this is just an introductory reading, not going to sign anything tonight. For an annexation of the 1 acre Caudell Simons Cemetery, in which Mr. Kane's property wraps around it. So we talked to the township trustee, Flory May, and we didn't want to have this little 1 acre pocket of unincorporated area surrounded by town limits. So all that would happen with this annexation is that the jurisdiction would be town of Fortville for police response, really anything along those lines. Not to maintain, though. Not to maintain, no. The ownership will remain with Vernon Township. So basically just cleans up the boundaries, and we'll obviously have to follow the same annexation process. It goes to multiple meetings and public hearing notice, but we'll take care of all that. Get required on that today. No, just a hold first reading. Okay. This would be ordinance 6B as a boy. And then lastly, what we would do as well is the zoning on the property is residential 1.0. We have the opportunity as part of this ordinance to assign a zoning district to it. So I had put in there to go with institutional, which is really what a cemetery should be zoned as under our ordinance. So it's the same zoning as a town hall. Ready yet? Make motion to approve ordinance 2022-6B. This is first reading. An ordinance of the town council of the town of Fortville, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the town of Fortville, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the town of Fortville. This is in reference to the Kause Cemetery.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All righty, next up on the agenda, Mount Vernon School Building Permit Fee Waiver Request.
All right, for this item, as you may or may not be aware, the Mount Vernon School District is going through really a master plan for the east side of their property on 200 West. So that would involve a new elementary school and a new transportation center. So it's a very ambitious project. And we want to, we've always cooperated with the school district on a number of different initiatives, and this one we feel should be no different. And what really we as staff were thinking is that instead of trading tax dollars from one entity to another for building permit fees, we believe the council has the ability to waive those on a case-by-case basis. We would still want them to pay any applicable sewer and water impact fees or fees, just because it goes to those dedicated funds. But really, in terms of the nominal building permit fee, would be $700 plus 2 cents a square foot. We think would be a good gesture to waive those. Lastly, another thing that we were looking at is even something as simple as the curves around the parking lot. School district had some issues with that because of the cost and the overall size of the project. So I think what we talked about is they're going to put it in through in parts of the parking lot, but not the whole thing. It would save a substantial amount of money for them. So really tonight's request is just for the waiver on the building permit fee if you're inclined to do that.
I don't have any questions on that. Any public comment?
I do. How many buildings are you talking about? 2 building permits? By square footage?
Yes. 2 building permits.
Plus 2 cents a square foot, that's pretty, that's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would probably amount to maybe 15,000 a building, roughly 10,000. Yeah. Not a huge savings, but I think it's a good gesture.
All right, I make a motion to approve the request to waive the Mount Vernon School Buildings permit fee as requested.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, Bob Ferrell to address the council on right-of-way and driveway concerns with NDOT's Broadway project, but all both of them together.
No, I mentioned that in the beginning that I wasn't prepared to.
Oh, no, NDOT project, you want to scratch that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what I've done here is I've gone through and I've measured everybody's curb height and I made a little model of it, but here's how the project went at hand. Every curb measurement is shown there. And ladies first. Anyway, you can look at them as we talk through them, and you know what, Robert, there you are, and Libby's not here. If you have any idea you want to look at it all, okay? And I'll talk from this. I've also got. I'd like to move this table just a little bit so I can do a comparison of what I. All right. If you look at, you can see you on there, you can see which one you got. For instance, this is Tanya's height. That's exactly a 2-inch height, and that represents her opening curb. Then you've got Fritz has got one of them that's 1.25 inches. Becky has one that is 1/2 inch. And then Robert has one that's 3 inches high, and that's a roll curb. And then I have a depiction of 0 curb height, which is ideal. You know, it's a great way to do it. And that's shared. Fritz has one, and Libby, that's where her backyard is, at 0. So here you go, you got Libby. Then you take the project at hand, which is 410 East Broadway. And when you measure across, you can see where I took the level and went across. It comes to 4.5 inches. So you can see that my curb where my entryway is considerably taller than any of them. And it is a real difficulty. Did y'all get a video about me taking the fork truck and hanging it up on it? Okay, you got one. Well, that's one of the problems. I mean, all of that height there is a real impediment. I don't believe that a 4.5 inch high rolled curb is even practical for an entry or any kind of commercial business, to ask people, trucks, cars, everything to come up and over a 4.5 inch impediment there. It is a rolled curb. It's not like it's impossible. It's just not practical. And what happened is that in December of 2018, the town of Fortville sawed out and took away my approach. That was probably in the 1/2 inch level high, and they replaced it with this one here, that's 4.5 inches high. I don't want to bore you with all of the pictures and everything, but I got pictures showing when it was sawed out, when the town put it back in, how I went ahead and put my approach, because I had a deadline on getting the asphalt on the ground. And so I went ahead and just put a concrete, not an approach, but an entry. And it's up, it's way up. What I'm asking is the town would make right what I consider to be a wrong. It's wrong to take somebody who had this, I had an approach that a bicycle wouldn't even notice it, and take me from this to this. And what I'm asking is that the town would go ahead and, with the expense, go ahead and take out that approach and then taper my entry, because it goes the approach there is about 1.5 feet, and then the entry is behind that. Well, my entry is this high, so it's going to have to be taken from this to this in about 8 feet. It's going to have to be sloped. Might have to be torn out. I'm fine with that if it gets torn out and done right. And that's the basic of it. And that's the only thing on the agenda tonight. I haven't been able to get with any of the other people about anything to do about the openings on Broadway. We've got plenty of time to do that. But anyway, any questions about what you got before you and what I'm asking for?
Mine is I paid for my approaches. I paid a contractor to come out and tear out the sidewalks, and I put them all in myself.
You put the approach in and the path, in other words, all the way from and including the street.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So did I. When I bought the property, Fritz, that's what it had. It had a beautiful, I paid for it, and it got taken away from me. And no notification, we all gone through this, but I'll just say it again. No notification, no question, not even an announcement after it was done. I just happened to drive by and thought, well, that's great. Joe put me in a new entry, and it's not an entry at all. It's a curb.
Do we know why Joe didn't leave the entry that was there?
The entry's still there. The old entry. When you go over there, there's a smaller indentation right there. It's still there.
Except next to the stop sign.
No, there isn't.
Yeah,
There's a
well,
flange curve.
there is a flange
About 2
curve
foot from
there.
the stop sign.
Yeah.
That's where the original entrance
What
was.
length is just how far from the
80
highway?
feet, 80 feet, you need to be off the highway, 80 feet.
That entrance is too close. It's
80
there now.
feet is a minimum
Yeah.
that was given to us, and it approximated right where Huck's had theirs. It's the minimum distance you can be from the highway, 80 feet.
Right.
Mine was 160 feet from the highway, which is added safety. And then it got, when Fritz put a drain there, it had to move down about 8 feet, 10 feet, I don't know. Okay, so I had, the 80 feet is purely minimum requirement. I met that a long time ago, and there was a little bit of a hang up that I was playing games with the 80. Are you joking me? 80 would have put my entrance and Huck's entrance perfectly in line. There is not enough room to take an 18-wheeler off of Broadway, straighten it out, and then get it to turn by the time I'm at my 80 feet. It made sense to me. I said, I need to get this thing as far away as possible for the people, get it down as far south as I could. And then conversely, coming out, then the trucks have plenty of space to get, and then there's very little traffic down at that end. They can get in, out, get straightened up so that people going to Huck's coming from Broadway, say from the west coming in, they don't even notice. They just see a truck there. They don't see it. They're not blocked by the nose of the truck. So that was something that just made all the sense in the world for. It was already down there. It was down there. Joe put a drain in and asked me not to put my entryway where the drain would be impacted. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So I did it. I mean, yeah, I don't want people driving over my drains. They're soft spots. They're good and strong, but you don't want constant traffic over. So I just moved it down because I had to get my asphalt in. I had no chance to bring the thing to a head. So I just went ahead and put my own entry in, not my approach. So I, like you, have bought my own approach. It was there, now it's not, and that's all I'm asking. You would want it. You would want it for your business. You would want it for your home.
Bob, I went over, just so I make sure I was remembering it correctly, I went over this weekend, and we have rather, probably normal height clearance on our vehicle, personal vehicle, but it seems rather low. I was able to pull up on the, above on that curve, back out straight without scraping the bumper like you hear so many cars do, on your curve.
Yes.
I was able to turn around in a passenger car,
Yes.
a low sitting passenger car, up onto your curve and back out into the road, zero problems. And you mentioned Huck's. I had forgotten until I went back over there. Huck's also has a roll curve
Yes.
off of the street.
Yeah.
I'm confused as to what the real concern is. You mentioned that 18-wheelers would have to come in and out of there. They certainly are gonna have zero issues negotiating that whole curve.
That was concerned with the placement, Robert, not
Okay.
the curve. Trucks can get in and out. Cars can get in and out. It's far from ideal. You would not want it. You particularly have the second highest
Right.
of all of them. And hey,
And
I'm 50% higher than you are.
and I had no issues on yours.
It's not a matter of issues, it's a matter of, is it a proper, is it something that was there and been taken out and replaced with something
I
inferior?
have a question for Adam. So we've made it clear that whenever the curbs are taken out, redone, and made new, that they're done to current standards. Is there anywhere in the code that says the standard is a 4.5-inch curb? All right, can we at least look into that and see what that standard is? Is it higher
I
than
think it
what's
matches the other curve that's there,
further down?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's,
It's flush with
maybe
it.
that's what it is.
but that's old and it's.
I'm missing
it's-
what you're saying.
I'm talking about when you look down there, it's not sitting above the curve that's on both sides of it. It's flush with the same curve that was there before.
I actually have a picture that shows my old, and it was just as smooth, it was just like Becky's.
Well, what you had before was all tore up, busted up, and it's not even in good shape, and I can see it in this picture right here.
Not the approach. The approach was fine. That's all I'm talking about
When you
here.
say approach,
When we say approach, we're looking at
you're
a
talking about the curve?
it now is a curve. It used to be an approach. Now it's not an approach anymore. It's a curve.
That's an approach right there.
He's talking about the width of the curve, front of the curve and the back.
Yes, this is an approach right here. And this is fine. This is perfect. There's my asphalt entry, okay? serviced by a very good, nice, low height approach. That's what I had. That's not what I had. That's what was, if you look at another, see what this excavating here is to install.
Yeah, I know, yeah, got that. But when you look down here, it all looks like it's the same height. This all looks the same.
Because it is.
Okay, well, that's what we put in there is also matching.
Well, the old one's still there.
Yeah,
The old
it's
one,
still
that's
there.
the old one.
Yeah,
Well, that's where.
starting here, it would be new.
I'm good with it, but that's not what I got. This is showing that it was completely taken out. This nice area that you're referring to here, which I totally agree, okay, was taken out and a curb was used to replace my.
Well, what they were doing, looky here, they were just lining up what was there.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. In
But
other
now,
words,
wait a minute, but yours isn't even set in yet at all
No.
here.
No, it wasn't. He didn't do that till after.
then all that indicates is that I have work to do. That's all that indicates. It doesn't, the proper thing would have been to have given me an approach that was usable. What I have right now, even though it might work, Robert, what if I had a classic car show?
Well,
You can forget about half of them.
What I'm thinking, in the very beginning, before you even started the parking lot project.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, before you even tore it all out, you probably should have went to the town, showed them where you wanted, had it all straightened out before you pulled. We're not mind readers, Bob. But when you go and start tearing out your parking lot without even calling the county or anything, we don't know where
Is
you're.
that what's before us tonight? That has nothing to do with it.
But
We had our differences. Nobody's gonna disagree with that.
right.
We solved it
But
all.
when
Was there
I've got
planning
all
was there?
straightened out in the very beginning. When I drew up my parking lot at Denver's, I showed them what we were gonna put in,
Sure.
okay?
So
And then all this was addressed before I even started.
I had to do the very same thing. I did it. I have it. I should have made
But-
it.
But there
about the
again,
entrance?
but you did not talk about none of this was drawn up in the very beginning.
The entrance
When
was
you
not-
started.
When I got my permit, just like everybody else does, you have to submit a complete drawing. I did mine in color, okay, just so we could get it. And it showed my opening just about within a very small distance from that. But I don't understand how the subject of my entry being taken out, and Tanya's right to point it out right there. That is gone, and there's a 4.5 inch curve.
There again.
Do you want to make a wrong right or not? That's the question.
Well, let's make it wrong right. Okay. The permit should have been pulled in the very.
It
beginning.
wasn't. I
Okay,
can't change it.
okay, I can't change it. I can't change this either, Bob.
Yeah, you can.
No.
It's strictly a matter of
Here's
of
what-
your person, Joe, wherever you are. Joe arbitrarily took it out, didn't call me, didn't consult me.
He's the town manager. He doesn't
Yeah,
have
I
to
know
do
that.
He
But he's
doesn't
not.
work, he doesn't work for you. He works for the town council at our leisure, not you, Bob, okay?
I don't think he does, never did. But he's not infallible,
We're not-
right? He's just like I can make mistakes.
All right,
He made a big mistake.
I think, Bob, you made a big mistake too by not pulling a permit in the very beginning and getting this straightened out in the very beginning, right?
Yes, and you
Okay.
think I haven't paid for it?
Well, what we're saying is, we're not mind readers, Bob. You gotta put it
Then
down
why
in
do you want the
writing.
taxpayers?
I'm not asking you, no, these are hard, this is hard to evidence.
I know, but you're
It's
asking the
concrete.
taxpayers, you're asking the taxpayers of Fortville to pay for this project.
When you have a good entrance right
Here's-
now, if you didn't have one and couldn't use it, then maybe I would
It's- I
feel
don't
differently.
believe I have one, Tanya. I believe I have a curb. And if you want to show me where there's a regulation that says that a 4.5 inch curb doubles as an approach,
So,
I'm open, but the fact remains, I had one, now I don't.
so
it
the
was
only thing
taken-
that won't pass it is a forklift.
Say it again.
The only thing that won't crawl that curb is a forklift.
No, I can't.
Passenger cars will, a commercial vehicle will, Everything will pass that curb except for a forklift.
It's certainly not comfortable. It's certainly not ideal.
I didn't
And
think
I,
it was that
it won't
comfortable.
accommodate an Italian car, a French car.
Sure.
It won't, no, it won't. It will not do it.
Okay.
My trailer, when I pull the trailer behind the pickup truck, it scuffs as it goes.
It will. It's got.
Well,
my
that's not
driveway.
right. That's fixable.
Can I have a motion? If we, does anybody want to make a motion?
Oh, I just want to make certain that, Bob keeps saying that Joe made a mistake. The curb was put back to the current code.
Right, and they're the same height as the curve
There
that
was no
starts at High
mistake.
Street.
I don't see a mistake that was made. This is done anytime a curb's taken out and replaced. And in your case, they got a roll curb that completely can get up on top of, no issues in place. It's not a high back curb like the one down there by where the State Farm office is. If that was what was in place, I think to Tanya's point, we'd be having a different conversation.
You're talking about where State Farm is?
Correct.
Okay, that's a parking curb.
Correct.
It's not an
That's
entrance,
not-
it's not an entrance curb.
Correct. Well, you have an entrance curve now in the building, the one we've been talking about. You just, it's just not what you wanted there.
I had what I wanted. I put it on the permit that I got given to me, that nobody anticipated, that my curb would, you just want me to say, just have your way? At least listen to some reason, please.
And I think that's what we're saying here is it was
I
taken
don't
out
hear
and
it.
it was put back in per code. There was no mistake made. You have an approach curve.
No, I don't. I have no approach curb. Excuse me, sir. I do not have an approach. It's a road curb. Adam, stick up for me. Tell us what's going on. Come on. Well, you know the difference between an approach and a curb,
I know
right?
the difference between an approach.
Well,
and a curb.
let's get it right. I had an approach. I want my approach back. I'm asking you to cover the bill. Go ahead and fix it. You don't have to, Tanya.
Why do you want the taxpayers to pay for that when you have a?
Taxpayers?
Yeah.
I'm one of
I
them.
mean, you're pro Fortville, you love Fortville, you've been here forever. Why would you want to do that?
Because
I would
you're
never do
man.
that. I would never do that.
Well, you're more magnanimous than I am. All I'm saying is that your manager made this move. I call a mistake. You say it's not. You either want to give me my curb back or you don't. That's just that simple. It's really
Here's
that
here's
simple.
what we want you to do, Bob. Fill out a permit and go to the office, fill out a permit that you want to put a curb cut in. Adam will okay it and then just put the curb cut back
Wherever
in
you
at your own
Wherever
expense,
you want.
wherever you want.
Right, it always goes that way. It's always a one-way street. You take it away and give me the opportunity, write down what you just said.
Well, it's in the minutes.
Very good.
And Adam, you did say that's code, 4-inch curb is code.
4.5.
I don't know that for a fact.
Well, let's check on that.
If it's not, what do you think we should do?
We'll tear the curb out.
I mean, what is your role here? Actually, an advisor, I'm thinking.
Well, it has to be code, we can't.
We tear out the curb and then you put in whatever you want.
That is not,
No.
that's not
No, we're
taking
not-
care of a
we're not-
wrong.
Well,
You don't want to do it, you don't have to.
No.
I'm merely asking you to right a wrong, a clear wrong. And anybody that thinks that a curb that's a 1/2 inch high and one that's 4.5 inch high has any kind of equation at all for people coming in and out, I don't care if you can, why should you?
I want to see that it's the code. If 4 inches is not code, then it needs to be the code.
Well, I say that there needs to be some kind of restitution for what has been done. You can't just have your people, even though they work directly for you and not for me, as you pointed out. You can't have them going off on their own, has anybody ever looked at the work order to take that out? Anybody ever thought to say, Bob, look, there was a work order. Have you? Has anybody done
I don't
that?
think we need a work order.
Well, I think somebody did.
They got cut out because there was a drainage problem there that you brought to our attention.
That was
to the town's attention.
That was solved.
By putting the
The
drainage.
picture in it clearly shows it's solved.
Let me ask you a question, Adam. Do you have the permits, everything leading up to when the Hancock County stopped the project? And then the drawings on hand?
We have a variety of drawings from.
Yeah, I think they didn't, there wasn't their agreement with.
You
Hancock-
want me to just?
Yeah, well, we need the agreement that you have with Hancock County also, okay? There was an agreement. We just probably need to go look all that up. The permit and everything from the very beginning.
With the drawing, showing what's there.
Right.
And it's a curb cut, not a curb. It was approved as a curb cut. It had a curb cut, and now it does. And that's what I'm asking you to do. And I can't imagine, in my business, when we make a mistake, I make a mistake, guess who pays? And we zip it and send a check. It's just that simple. That's business. That's just the way business is.
Well, again, I'll just have, I really, I don't want to give this any more oxygen, but
Right.
what I do want to, what I'm confused about is, wasn't the curb was put in like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah,
So how come, this is the first that we've heard it was an issue?
well, it's not the first Joe's heard of it. He just told me to stand down. That's the way it is. I have a right to put curbs when I want, where I want, and how I want. Done deal. Is that right, Fritz? Is that it? Well, I got it reminded to me. And what else is there to do? Now I'm asking that we right the wrong.
But I guess what I'm getting at, just from a staff perspective, is, you know, like anything, we're still people, we make mistakes, and I'm not saying that one was made, but how come we didn't come to the town 3 years ago after it was installed and says, you know, this isn't
Well,
right?
frankly, I had to get the asphalt in because you well know I was running really, really tight on time. I had to get something in there to make it by April the 3rd of 19, and I did. But you guys are putting pressure on me, and that's your job, okay? Okay, but at that point, I had to put an entry in
What I'm saying
against your
is,
approach, against your curb.
I paid for my entry at my place.
Did you?
Okay,
Good, we're even.
okay. And that's all I'm saying, is that.
We're very
They're
even.
in, I'd have to look at your permit.
Okay.
Okay, to see where your entrance was. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna check on the code.
I was trying to look on my phone here, I can't find it really.
Okay. Old business, council to consider appointing a resident to the planning commission. I thought we already
It's been
did that.
done. I don't know why that was.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, now I'm gonna appoint Nathan from the zone, from the planning to the zone. Yeah.
Nathan Sturtevant?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And he's been talked to, but he knows.
okay. So Alex, did we want to talk about this issue right now and just put it to bed and make sure that we've got everybody in the right slot on the board commission? Or- Is it okay we talk about it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can. Sure.
All right, so. Okay, so on the planning commission, it was Jason Stein. And so the slot that he was appointed to was Lacey Little seat. And for that particular seat,
Got my little girl out here, gotta go.
the person needed to be either an elected or appointed person for the town, of which Jason is not. So if you move Nathan down to that slot and move Jason up there, that would seem to solve the problem. So the only thing is, Alex, did we run into an issue because there's that provision in state law where you're supposed to have ideally 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, or?
No, it's ideal. If it's
Okay.
impractical, we can't find it. then
Okay.
The law's clear.
So then, do we need to do anything in terms of people resigning and coming back, or just move these names around?
You and I can look that up. Technically, yes, but effectively, we're fine.
So is Nathan taking the slot on the Economic Development Commission also, or is that a vacant for me with somebody in there?
We don't have to do anything with that. The Economic Development Commission, that was,
I think
that was a special purpose body that was created for the MBA. It'll have other relevance probably for other projects. But that was the one that was a gentleman in Woodstone.
Yeah, it
I
was
forgot his name.
TV.
Yeah.
Military.
So I would.
Adam's right, that commission meets very infrequently,
Okay,
so if they do need to meet, do that, then.
okay.
We don't have one for the lease. Okay. So Nathan's there.
I think that should. I'll let them,
So we're,
You might let him know,
oh, yeah,
yeah, or both of them probably.
For sure.
Have you told Jason it already?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
so I wanted to make sure we were. ready to go.
Okay.
okay, this is gonna be quick and easy on the department reports. Joe's not here. Adam,
I don't have anything, although I think Joe wanted Alex to talk about the utility taxes or fees, something. like
Yeah,
that.
it's just real, I can do this now or it might
Yeah,
work, but really quick, there's a change in the law that the legislature is requiring that the town take off the utility tax from our rate, so that effectively that tax is not in the town's rates. Buzz has worked up the new rates that'll be there, so this is a net positive for the town, that effectively those taxes are coming out. It will be printed, and it's required by the new law on the utility bills that go out. So it'll give notice to all the customers that, hey, this is what the rate, the new rate is to carve out the utility tax. And so that should be happening in the next, I think the next billing cycle this month. So just a heads up.
How much that is? They'll be reduced to one rate.
So sent it to me. Just wanna try to read the rates. Yeah.
No,
I don't see the comparison. I have the new rates, but it doesn't tell me the difference of what it was before.
Let's ask those with that.
But it will be going down.
sure, but then we have to pay that office to do that.
so that's gonna be published in the paper?
It'll be
Or
on the
the
utility
utility
bills
bill.
themselves.
All right, he's not here. Clerk treasurer's not here. Police chief's not here. And Alex just,
Any question? I don't have anything other than the just update on the utility tax coming off the rates.
any public comment? Town council comments. Libby,
I don't have anything.
Tanya,
Me neither.
Becky,
Nothing.
Robert,
I have nothing tonight.
me neither. Okay, good.
Make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:06.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, sorry, next meeting. Catch up with you guys. It's on a holiday.
You've been up in the home.
Isn't that the?
You probably came down, went through
No,
June to get the
19.
inside. And I
That's a
remember
federal
it's
holiday.
when you told me you were out, you were going.
Yes.
Turn your mic off. You guys want to come on up and meet the council? Yeah, these are the people from Kiwanis. They want to meet everybody. They're starting a new Kiwanis in town.
You guys know anything about Kiwanis?
Communicate that.
Not a lot. Oh, good. Well, we're 107 years old. We're in 87 different countries. And we help children. And the Indiana District of Kiwanis has decided that you are our target to help children in this community. And your fearless leader, Fritz Spence, was one of the first ones to join this morning. And we probably have close to 22 members right now, and they're all movers and shakers. And Fritz is one of them. We have Kate Cook from Daniel's Vineyard. We have Dan Cook from Online Transport. Jacob Burgess from Fox Garden Restaurant, Kitchen and Ale, I believe it is. Andrea Jovanovich, she's a former teacher, and I think she was into politics at one point in time too, I'm not sure. Tammy Parker, ATA. Fritz. We have the executive director of the library, Melissa Dragu Lucelle. And then we have Mark Elder, the deputy